Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Winter with Angela Marshall, the rest of the ABC Fox News team. We are coming to you live with another edition of Hometown Proud from in Flathead Lake. 500 homes have now been evacuated, as you mentioned, 14 of which have burned to the ground. Westside Lions Park has been completely shut down, so has the California Street footbridge. It all happened at about 8:15 this evening when a call came in that a man had been shot in the head. Altitude Bar and Grill is as much a museum and a tribute to veterans as it is a restaurant. Abby Egbert here is going to take me around the barrels real quick, and she promised to be nice to me. So you want to? I'm just going to follow you.
Okay.
I'll go this way, you go that way. Come on, let's go. So after you start moving, you realize that this is not a passenger plane. A lot of fun though, even though a little bit noisy. Anticipation, amazing. Montana is known more for horses than horology, the fancy term for the art of making timepieces. So you might be surprised to find out that some of the most famous people in the world come to Montana to have a watch made. The Armed March on Whitefish Against Jews now has a new date, a new name, and a new sense of urgency as the man who is organizing that event has filled out an application to submit to the city. A group of 6 people from all different walks of life to give us a litmus test of how those living in Montana felt as they watched Donald Trump assume power. I'm dressed to the 8s, you to the 10s. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, David Winter. You look a little like James Bond, I have to admit.
Winter, David Winter. Right now, we've got 3,500 acres that have burned. We have 500 homes that have been evacuated. We do not know how many homes have burned at this point. But to give you a better idea of the space that we're looking at, this is the incident command map. This is 3,500 acres, about 2.5 miles by 3 miles. This is Highway 93, so for about 6 miles west of Highway 93, that's where the area has been evacuated. There have been no injuries. There have been no deaths, of course, which is good news. This right now is Brad Moen. He is with the Hamilton Fire Department. Yes. What are we facing up there? Rugged terrain?
Rugged terrain. It is confirmed we have lost 14 residents.
Okay.
14 homes, several outbuildings, but the count on homes is 14.
Thank you very much. I know you have to get going, Brad. Thank you, and thank you for all your work out there. So that actually is brand new information. 14 homes have burned. We didn't know that information until right now. The sheriff was trying to get in touch with all of these people that have had their homes lost. There is a meeting tonight at 7 p.m. And this area, which is Westside Lions Park, has been completely shut down. So has the California Street footbridge. It all happened at about 8:15 this evening when a call came in that a man had been shot in the head, and then he was transported to the hospital. Now, those are non-life-threatening injuries. If you can see some video from earlier this evening, this was from about an hour and a half ago, it shows the police. There were probably about 10 squad cars here earlier, and now there's a crime scene investigation van that is processing the scene. They're looking for a man who we were told at one point had no shirt on and basketball shorts. He was armed, we were told, and obviously dangerous if he is a suspect in an attempted homicide. Thanks, Ann. Spencer's latest news storm came last week when he spoke at Texas A&M University, provoking heated confrontation. You can see it in this video right here. And once again, mentions of Montana and Whitefish specifically as his part-time home. So I went back to Whitefish, and here's what I uncovered. Richard Spencer was raised in Texas, but he has spent years in Whitefish with his family. His mother, Sherry Spencer, still lives here in this beautiful home at Whitefish Mountain Resort. She also does business in town, but that soon could be changing.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
This speech last month at the National Policy Institute's annual convention and the crowd's Nazi-like response rocketed Richard Spencer into the media stratosphere. But back here on Earth, and specifically in Whitefish, the war over Spencer's white nationalist views has locals fighting battles in the newspaper and on the street. This street in particular, and this property, 22 Lupper Avenue. It's a new building in Whitefish's downtown historic district, first owned by Richard Spencer and now owned by his mother, Sherry. There are vacation rentals on the top floor, businesses lease at street level. But Sherry says her son's political views and his detractors are forcing her to sell the property. In an email to me, Sherry says, "As painful as this is, I am exploring a potential sale of the building."
One of those detractors is Tanya Gersh, a prominent member of the community, who told me in an email, Sherry is profiting off of the people of the local community, all the while having facilitated Richard's work spreading hate by letting him live and use her home address for his organization. Virginia's State Corporation Commission still lists Sherry's home as the principal office location for Richard's white nationalist organization, the National Policy Institute. And a dive into Sherry's Facebook page supports the fact that Richard has spent a substantial amount of time with his mother in Whitefish, snow skiing, water skiing. The Silver Theater property is now fenced off, but the rubble behind me could give us some clues as to what may have caused the collapse. Now, we don't know for sure, obviously, but engineers say that they have a pretty good idea.
So it's very low tech. We take a square foot of snow and weigh it.
Tom Bodette shows us how his structural engineering firm tests snow loads on roofs.
1 square foot of snow in this case.
He weighs the sample. Bodette says that there's little concern if the cubic foot of snow is less than 30 pounds.
It is right at 11.4, 11.6 pounds.
Bodette says it was more likely a clogged drain that may have left inches of standing water on the roof. The engineers in Bodette's firm designed structures much differently than they did in 1950 when the Silver Theater was built. Today, concrete columns would need to be put every 4 feet with rebar reinforcement. Our investigation led us to property records. The Silver Foundation bought the building in 2015 from this man, Jim Ramsey. Before his marriage counseling practice, he ran the Calvary Community Church. We spoke with him this afternoon. He offered some further insight. He says he bought the building in 1984. He says the church was considering putting in windows, and testing concluded that it would have been easy because there were no concrete columns or rebar in the masonry. He also told us that during the bad winter of 1996, he cleared snow from the roof using a snowblower. He says the blades damaged the roof and caused water leaks. He hired someone to install a new waterproof surface for the roof with a 20-year guarantee. That guarantee would have run out in December. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of commercial buildings throughout Montana with flat roofs that were built in 1950 or before. Don Veru is in charge of building inspections for the city of Missoula. He says structural inspections are only done if a bank orders one during a sale or if major changes are occurring at the building. There are no random or periodic testing of buildings required, only if a building owner chooses.
Shouldn't someone be responsible other than the building owner to police itself?
Right, no, it's totally on the building owner to make sure that they have a safe building for the public.
Not true in Singapore, though, where building inspections are required by law every 5 years, paid for by the owners, including load tests if the testing engineer deems it necessary.
We've been working here 13 seasons and the bones just keep coming out of the hill.
In fact, this area is so dinosaur-rich that this group behind me was merely trying to clear this area before getting down to the small tools, and when they did, they found another sauropod. Tell me what it's like to be digging here on an actual dinosaur dig.
It's really fun, actually.
Which brings us back to our Cub Scouts. What do you think you're going to find?
A T-Rex tooth.
You want a T-Rex tooth?
Yeah. T-Rex tail.
You're hoping to find a T-Rex tail?
These young guys, who knows? They might become a paleontologist someday or a scientist just because they came up, and they'll always remember that they helped dig up dinosaurs.
And helped uncover and understand a world that looked and sounded much different than this ranch nestled gently in the foothills of Montana's Little Snowy Mountains. Montana is known more for horses than horology, the fancy term for the art of making timepieces. So you might be surprised to find out that some of the most famous people in the world come to Montana to have a watch made. It's a place where time stands still. Livingston, Montana's population and Main Street have looked about the same for the past 80 years. And toiling away in his Main Street workshop, the watchmaker.
My name is Jeffrey Nash, and I'm the founder and owner and chief horologist of the Montana Watch Company.
Jeffrey Nashin tends to one of his bespoke timepieces like a surgeon. Each watch handcrafted, about 2/3 of them custom designed for individual buyers.
It says something about that person's personality. says something about who they are. Not just, oh, he had means and taste and so he could buy an expensive watch, but he had means and taste and he was a character and he had a personality, and it's reflected in this timepiece.
Like a heartbeat, Jeffrey listens to his creation come to life.
It's a pretty old concept of how to take spring power and turn it into timekeeping.
As time went on, word spread about his watches, attracting the pens of high-end magazines, then the wallets of high-end clients, heads of state, business, sports, and entertainment. You don't need to be a celebrity to buy one of Jeff's pieces, but you do need to be willing to spend some money, $3,500 to $60,000. Like Batman, this billionaire philanthropist changes into his uniform, his cape, and his mask search and rescue gear. We're on a training mission with Gauguin, pilot Jim Bob Pierce, and Flathead County Sheriff Chuck Curry.
Really is just one of the guys. He's a crew member when he's here with us. Vessels on this kid ready to fish. There, guys.
That's Mike, dangling 90 feet in the air.
You know, no risk and no reward. It applies to everything. It applies to business. It also applies to trying to do some good for people.
And doing good for people is Gauguin's new mission.
Whether it's save somebody's life or change somebody's life dramatically, you know, I'll admit to anybody that's the most powerful drug on planet Earth, so that's a good one to get hooked on.
We spent the afternoon with Gauguin and his girlfriend, Jamie Stevenson, at their home above Whitefish Lake. At 75,000 square feet, it's the 11th largest home in the country. But Gauguin's beginnings are much more modest.
It's like a rock concert. Thousands of people here, all to catch a glimpse and feel the burn.
Senator Bernie Sanders.
Senator Sanders did not disappoint, beginning by telling the crowd that this election is far from over, despite what you might have heard in the media.
Apparently, the people of Indiana and West Virginia didn't get the message.
Sanders also spoke of decreasing reliance on fossil fuels, namely coal, but assured Montanans that he would help communities affected by closing mines. We interviewed Sanders one-on-one before the rally.
You got a 50-year-old man. Is he supposed to be retrained to do web programming?
Well, you know what? You got millions of children in this country and billions throughout the world who deserve to live in a planet that is habitable.
But nothing would tame this crowd, who were definitely feeling the burn.
Optimistic yet skeptical. Now, this is the consensus we seem to reach with a panel that we assembled today to watch that inauguration. A group of 6 people from all different walks of life to give us a litmus test of how those living in Montana felt as they watched Donald Trump assume power. Clinton Lawson, a PhD candidate at UM, Aaron Jewell, a salesman, Garth Lambie, a retired pastor, Tristan Leader, a stay-at-home mom, Tony Lynn, a veteran, and Madiha Mohsin, a Muslim on student exchange from Pakistan. 6 different people, 6 different slants heading into the inauguration.
I kind of doubt it lasts 4 years, honestly, like before he gets impeached or quits or whatever.
But there's a lot of people that didn't really enjoy Obama's administration at all.
The changing of power, and it's really an awesome thing.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
As the ceremony began, our focus group aligned with their political leanings.
It gives me hope for the future.
Perhaps the most poignant outcome of our little experiment, the reaction from the one person in the room who was not an American.
When I go back to my country, I will invite more people to love and respect the U.S. people and the countries.
A win, no matter from which side of the spectrum you were watching. And then we sat around and had bagels and coffee together. Unity has to start somewhere. Ange?
But who's this guy? Rocky De La Fuente. Well, we had a chance to speak with him this afternoon via Skype.
Rocky De La Fuente is a businessman from San Diego, California. He turned his father's Volkswagen dealership into a real estate development empire, owning dozens of car dealerships, banks, assisted living facilities, and way too many more holdings to mention them all. A millionaire many times over. My first question for him, why are you running for president of the United States?
This is going to be remembered as the worst election in the history of America.
So where does he stand on the issues?
Jobs, jobs, and more jobs. Millions of them. At high-paying wages. We need to provide all the people free education. A 12% flat tax would be perfect for the United States. That every man, woman, or child has the right to bear arms. I believe it's a woman's right to choose. So global warming is real.
After our interview this afternoon with Mr. De La Fuente, he said that he's so excited about Montana that he plans to come to the state at the end of the month. He's the only presidential candidate, by the way, to commit so far to coming here post-primaries.